Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning. I hope you are doing well and looking forward to a great week. We're back for 9-Minute Monday, just talking about the leadership tips and tools to help you lead well for the week. So that's our heart, that's the purpose, and excited to jump into a conversation. I actually want to tell you a story today about a leadership moment for me and some lessons that I learned from it. And kind of the takeaway or kind of the subject of this one is that as leaders, we have to learn to define the what for our team, but release the how. And so that's what I want you to live with. You know, a lot of times we talk about the why, and the why is incredibly essential. But in this particular season of leadership, one of the things that I really realized is that I needed to define the what, remind people of the why, but I needed to really release the how. And so it was one of those seasons, and I bet you guys can relate to this, that our team was just a bit frustrated, right? No matter how hard we tried, we couldn't seem to get momentum. Have you ever been in one of those seasons where it's like you just feel like you are grinding so hard trying to make things happen and you're not getting that sense of momentum? Internally, communication was kind of breaking down. There was just kind of this general apathy among the staff, which is like one of the things that makes me absolutely crazy, is if I feel like the team are just kind of like not in it and not committed. And there was just kind of that general attitude. Again, we felt like we were spinning our wheels. And as the leader of the team, I realized, okay, it's kind of on me to figure out what we do about this, right? That as the leader, I have responsibility to help kind of move us forward and figure out what are we going to do? How are we going to approach this? Because I knew we were better than this, right? We had had great seasons where we had performed really well and accomplished, the big goals and seen that sense of momentum. And so I was committed to getting to the bottom of it because there's plenty of reason why we were capable of accomplishing the things that we needed to. And for some reason, we just weren't. Something wasn't working. And we all felt it. Like it was just, everybody just generally knew something's not quite right. It seems we didn't know what to do about it. So we were trying to, I really thought we've got to start with me. As a leader, I kind of said, you know what? I don't exactly know what's going on, but I know I've got to start with me. I've got to look at me first. And I was so committed to that I actually walked into the meeting and said, you know what, guys? It's going to start with me. I'm so committed to taking responsibility for ineffectiveness as a team that for the next hour, I want you to tell me where I'm creating the confusion that is hindering our momentum. Now, first of all, let me say this, that it took a lot for me to get to that place where I was willing to be that vulnerable and that honest with the team to say, I got to be willing to say, does it start with me? Is there anything I am doing as the leader that's creating the confusion, that's hindering our momentum and keeping us from accomplishing the things that we want to accomplish? And I probably delayed this way too long. I probably needed to instigate this conversation a lot sooner. And then secondly, as you can imagine, it was like dead quiet for like several minutes. Everybody going, like eyes darting from one person to the other going, is she serious or is this a trap? But I was so desperate because I was so frustrated by our ineffectiveness as a team that I was willing to say, you know what, if it's me, I need to know it's me and we need to move on. And as a result of kind of a little bit of coaxing, they began to share their frustrations and their observations. And honestly, a lot of it was me. Because their simple feedback was this, is they said, we need you to define what we need to do and clarify why we need to do it, but release us to figure out how. And at first there's like defensiveness, right? Like at first I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not a micromanager. I just care deeply about the work we're doing and I want to make sure everyone understands what we've done in the past and how we've done it before so that they would better understand and we'd just be more efficient in keeping everything moving. So I was just thinking that my giving everybody the detail of how to get things done was helping them, when in actuality, what they shared with me is that it was really hindering them. That was keeping them from figuring out the best way to move forward. And they said, you know what, we need you to fly at this altitude, Jenny. We need you reminding us why we're doing what we're doing, what we need to do in this season, what are our greatest priorities, but then let us figure out how. And as I listened, I began to understand, you know what, I would have the same frustration if I were in their shoes. I realized that their frustration was legitimate and that I was actually becoming a bottleneck to our team and our organization. And out of a desire to be helpful, thorough, efficient, all of those things that I pride myself in, and honestly, just to be right? Because we all sometimes just want to be right. I had really neutered my team of their autonomy to figure out how to best accomplish the work. And so I had just kind of stripped them of a sense of responsibility and a sense of authority to do the very things that I was expecting them to do. I was taking all of that away by being too detailed, just giving them too much of the how. So the lesson for me that day was that my job as the leader was to define the what, but to release the how. And so I want you to think about this in your context. What does that look like for you? Where might you be giving too much detail for how you want something accomplished rather than letting your team figure that part out? See, I need to release the how of our work so that our team could thrive and take the idea further than I could myself. And that was the big aha for me, is that, we say that we want really awesome leaders that really take responsibility, that just own things and go after things. But if we overly direct the how, we take away from them every opportunity to bring their uniqueness and their perspective and their creativity to it. So I want you to think about a few things this week. Reasons why we need to release the how as leaders. We need to release the how because you may not actually know how to do it best anymore. So this is where we got to be a little vulnerable, a little humble, and say, you know what? I might actually not know the best way to do things anymore, right? My staff on the front lines might actually have a better understanding of what it takes to get things done. I might have done it years ago when I was in that role, but I'm no longer in that role, and they might actually know how to do it better. Could I be vulnerable enough to say they may know how to do this better, so I need to release the how because they might know how to do it better. Secondly, I need to release the how because it will challenge your team to bring fresh ideas. When we release the how and we don't hold their hand, we actually challenge them to step up and challenge them to come up with more creative and fresh ideas in accomplishing the work. Third thing, release the how because it will stretch your team to do more, right? You will stretch them to step up because you're going to leave a chasm. You're going to leave a vacuum of things that are not getting done because you're not directing every detail. And so they're going to have to step up and own that. And then the fourth thing, release the how to free you to be more focused on future what's. I think in another segment of 9 Minute Monday, I shared with you that we need to really be 3, 6, 9 months ahead of our team. But if we're in the details and we're directing how, there's no way that we can be out really figuring out what looks like in the future. So define the what, release the how. That's what I want you to be thinking about this week. And just think about those 4 things. When you release the how, because you might not actually know how to do it best. They might actually know how to do it better. Release the how because it'll challenge your team to bring fresh ideas. Release the how because it will stretch your team to do more. And release the how to free you up to focus on the future. So be thinking about that this week. Look for opportunities or look for those moments where you're like, oh, wow, that's me getting way into the weeds. That's me directing too much of the how. I need to define the what, remind people of the why, but release the how. And then tell us your stories. I want to hear what you see this week, where this you have some aha moments around the fact that you tend to maybe get too specific and get into the how too much. I want to hear about it. Share your stories with us. Send us your questions. Put those in the comments this week as you're navigating this. If you have some questions around it, you want me to elaborate further, I would love to dig into the subject even a little bit more. And be sure to share this with somebody that you think might benefit from it, because we are so incredibly grateful for all of you guys. Thank you for leading well. Thank you for being on the front lines. And let us know how we can best serve you and the topics that you want us to consider for 9 Minute Monday, because this is a blast. I hope you're having fun. I'm having an awesome time. So have a great week, and we will see you soon.